Hello, everyone. Thank you. We got a fun little start there. We didn't realize we were already live streaming, but welcome everyone. And I want to thank you for being with us today. I'm Mary Catherine. I'm one of the senior fundraisers senior directors with our fundraising team, and I'm here with Rick Santos, our CEO and president of Church World Service, for our Giving Day webinar and live stream. Um, Today there are severe food shortages that are pushing those in poverty even deeper into hardship. And families fleeing violence are being denied refuge. They're being left with nowhere safe to keep their children safe. And honestly, the headlines can be really overwhelming. You might ask yourself, how can one person make a difference? But at Church World Service, we believe deeply that when you have the courage to hope and the courage to act, you become a spark that ignites hope and transforms the lives of families around the world. And so that's why this Giving Day, we are inviting supporters everywhere to be the spark that changes everything. So today is our 80th birthday at Church World Service, May 4th. And for all of those 80 years, Church World Service has stepped into some of the darkest moments with courage and hope and action. And your support continues that legacy. It turns fear into safety. Um, it turns displacement into belonging and despair into possibility. So today you'll hear directly from Rick, our president and CEO, about why this moment matters so much to us and how generosity becomes real change in the world for families, and how Giving Day can make so many things possible, not just for today, but for the next 80 years. So if you're joining us live, thank you so much. And if you want to, in the comments, if you'd like to share where you are, your name, and where you are, and any reflections you have. And if you're watching us later, we're so glad you were able to tune in after the fact. So with that, let's jump right in. And Heather, I just point of no, just want to make sure all I'm seeing right now is your name and then a little Rick at the top. So I just wanted to make sure that people be able to see Rick when he's talking. So Rick, thanks for
Yeah.
joining us today. My first question for you is, when you look at everything that's happening in the world today, hunger, displacement, disasters, what feels most urgent to you? Why does this moment feel especially critical compared to others that we have faced?
Yeah. Well, thanks, Mary Catherine, and just really happy to be here today on our the anniversary of our 80th birthday for an organization to have been doing what we do for as long as we have. It's really something special. For those of you who don't know our history, we were founded in the aftermath of World War II. We helped provide aid to both Europe and Asia, and right after the war, and then we've been doing a version of hunger, poverty, disaster, and displacement work for this entire time. It's a mission that we're really proud of. It's a mission that never seems to go away, and it's a mission that we hope people will continue to join us and support us. We were also founded, just a little bit about us. We were founded by our member denominations, and many of them who are now we call covenant members, and you can see that list on our website. But we are really grateful for that relationship. So we've been in relationship with those covenant members for essentially 80 years. We've been in relationship with the communities that we serve for that time as well. And we are just happy to be doing what we do and trying to make a difference in people's lives. So, Mary Catherine, your question was a great question. I mean, what makes today different than other times? And I think there's a couple of features about what we see today and what's going on today that makes me really concerned about some of the most vulnerable populations that we serve. So I would say one of the big challenges of this moment is we're seeing, as we've seen in other times, we see a lot of conflict. So conflict is a big driver of hunger. It's a big driver of displacement. People leave their homes, people flee. And a couple stories I think I want to share with you a little bit later today are going to be stories of displacement because of conflict. And then also we still are in a world where there's natural disasters and that we continue to try to respond to those as best we can, both here in the US and overseas. But I would say probably the biggest challenge of this, one of the biggest challenges of this moment is that I would say for the last 80 years, we've had, I would say, a larger role of the US government in the work that we do, not just church world service, but also funding health programs and food programs and the withdrawal of US support creates a gap. No one can um, pull together that much resource that quickly and distribute it in a way that can help people. We do what we can with our private resources, and so when we find both a world that's facing much conflict, we're finding more hunger, and we're finding people who are in great need. That with that resource being significantly changed makes it very difficult for us. So we have to step up. One of the things I've been really grateful for is a lot of our member churches. I can name all of them, and I probably will at some point through this day, but I want to shout out the United Methodists. They really stepped up with some large grants for us and helped us address some of these issues. But I actually spoke to the board meeting over at the UMCOR board meeting, and one of the things I shared with them is that, churches and people and individuals and private people can make a difference, and their dollars go really a long way. But we can't fill the gap that's left when a major donor like the U.S. government decides to change the way they do things. And so one of the things that I'm hopeful for today is we have this conversation is that in our 80th year that the work that we do, the resources that we receive, we're still committed to those those four kind of core parts of our mission: hunger and poverty, disaster and displacement, and that we are going to try to fill the gap as best we can, especially in this time. Um, yeah, so that's
Yeah.
just a few thoughts on that.
Yeah, that's really, really important that, I've talked about courage to take action and when you have rising natural disasters and increased conflict and the US government backs away, it's great to be a part of an organization that has courage to say there's still hope behind these headlines. We can, this moment needs action. It doesn't, we have to take
That's right.
action. So what makes
Yeah.
church, well,
No,
let's talk a little bit about, oh, sorry, go ahead.
yeah. No, no, no.
Um,
So I say I completely agree with what you said, but I mean, the courage to take action, the courage to help your neighbor, the courage to really decide to be a change maker in this world. I mean, I think that does take courage, and so I'm really really grateful. And there's a lot of that going on. People are stepping up. It's really amazing to see, and it's really actually inspiring to me to and I'll talk a little bit maybe a little bit later about some events I've been participating in that I really saw that in action.
Yeah, no, that's really great. I mean, for someone who may be new to church world service, I mean, what makes church world service different? Like when Christ, like facing this, where do you see courage showing up in these moments of crisis? How are we different? And maybe you can share some of those events that you saw and how that was different from other organizations.
Yeah. Yeah, so thanks, Mary Catherine. So I was in Albany, New York yesterday, and I participated in their 45th anniversary crop hunger walk. It was great. We had about a dozen churches, if not more, come out, individuals, people who really care. What's to me the crop hunger walks, which is a part of the way we raise funds and we raise awareness and we address these issues both at home, around the corner, and around the world. And just being in Albany yesterday and seeing people's courage. One question I've asked when I go to local communities in the U.S. and I asked just a simple question. I said, are you seeing more hunger in your community? And whether that be through your church and the food pantry that you support, or whether that be through just your connection to other people in the community or friends and family. And the response I've gotten from when I asked that question, and I've been in places like Albany and Austin, and I've been in Bridgeport, and I've been in Lancaster, and just a lot of different places. And when I ask that question, it's the unfortunate answer is yes, they're seeing more hunger, increased hunger in their local communities. So for me, when I participate in these crop walks, these anniversary walks, a lot of them are 50 years. It was just amazing that communities. I think the courage of those communities to come out 50 years in a row to really say we're making a difference in this world, we're making a difference for our neighbor, and we're making a difference for our neighbor who lives overseas. And I think that's to actually make that bold of a statement that when Jesus was asked who is your neighbor, basically Jesus responded, everyone is your neighbor. And so for us to support our neighbor again around the corner and around the world takes a lot of courage. And in these times when I think there's a lot of rhetoric out there that it seems mean and harsh and spiteful, and yet these communities come out and they're showing kindness and they're showing courage and they're showing generosity. It's just really amazing, and I think that's the symbol for me of church world service. Like if someone was to say, what are you going to boil down church world service for me? And I would say it's people who care, who want to show kindness, they show generosity, and they show courage for this work. And they've been showing it, our communities and the people we work with have been showing it for 80 years.
Yeah, I think that is a bit of the special sauce of CWS is it's not just people in offices in New York and DC, but it's all of those crop hunger walkers and our supporters and our congregations who have that steadfast courage that you're talking about and know that together. And I think also something really unique that like you said, the local and global. And when people support CWS, you don't have to choose. I mean, it's a false choice. You can help around the block and around the world. And for 80 years and 50 years of walking, CWS supporters have been doing that. That is a very beautiful thing. Thanks. So thinking about lovely hearing about the people you've met in Crop Hunger Walks, thinking about the people you've met globally, can you share a story about a family or a person who maybe was at a breaking point in one of these dark places, and what changed when support arrived? What was the first spark of hope and the moment that things began to change for that person or that family?
Yeah, so thanks for that. That's a great question. Thanks, Mary Catherine. I travel a bit for this work, and I was fortunate enough to be in Thailand. I hadn't been back to Thailand probably for 15 years. And earlier in my career, I did a lot of work around the Thai-Burma border. There's about currently 70,000 refugees in camps on the Thai border. And there's more essentially urban refugees in Thailand. And that was, I think, a little bit of a difference from when I was there prior. All the refugees were in camps prior, and this time there were, again, a fair amount of urban refugees. So we work with local partners there. We work with local agencies. We've been supporting the refugees in the camps for basically 25 years. I remember going to the camps for the first time in probably early 2000. And then again, so when I came back 15 years later from the last time I was there, it was really interesting to have conversations with some of the folks that we're supporting. And there was a young woman, and her name is E. Kin. And I think she's also featured on our website, so people can read a little bit about her there as well. And she when I was talking to her and just wanted to hear her story. And it's a story that's very similar, but also very different and unique. The similar part is the government was attacking their village. She lives in one of the ethnic minority states. She fled with her family. She's a single mom, and she fled to Thailand for safety and refuge. And then one of our partners was able to connect with her, and then through grants that Church World Service made, we were able to give her some training in organic farming, and she was able to learn how to do that. And then these are the self-sufficiency. So this is the I think the idea of the spark, right? The spark where a gift can then unleash essentially someone's potential, and they can continue to support themselves and support their family. And I just were a catalyst for that, which is really exciting for me. But we had a conversation, and she showed me pictures. I showed pictures. They're in a picture on the website. You'll see her and I, or her standing there, and she was showing me a bag of chilies, organic chilies. And so, of course, in Thailand and Burma, those are really hot. If you like hot food, those chilies are great. But she sells them in the local market, and that she is trying to earn a living through the grants, both training and then support for her initial the seeds and tools and things like that we give. And really just a wonderful story, a lovely, lovely person, and just someone who has a lot of, someone doesn't flee their home because they want to. They flee their home because they have to. And they often flee their home because their life and the life of their family is in danger. So for her to find a place of refuge, to be able to have a livelihood that we were able to support, to me is really just fantastic. It shows what Church World Service does in these communities. Another quick story I want to tell about a woman I met twice, actually, in two different visits. Her name is Natalia. The first time I met her, she had just crossed the border from Ukraine into Moldova. We do programs in both Ukraine and Moldova. This was just after the Russian aggression and attacks on Ukraine, and her village she had to flee her village because it was taken over by Russian troops. And so she kind of made her way to Moldova. Now, just for a little bit of geography, Moldova is the smallest country in Europe. It is not a member of NATO nor a member of the EU. And it is probably the poorest country in Europe, and yet it houses more refugees per capita than any other country in Europe. And so it's a place that needs support. So we're supporting both the local population, the Moldovans, as well as people who are fleeing and coming across. So I met Julia. Literally, it was in a place where we could support. We were giving like clothing and food and different dried goods so that people could use them. And they were in need. They didn't have they had just fled, and so she actually volunteered, and that's where I met her. She volunteered in this center that we were supporting. So she had already just fled, and she was already starting to volunteer and help out. I ran into her about 3 years later. We were actually visiting with partners in that part of Moldova, and our local partner there invited her and two other refugees that we had supported. And at first, she walked in the room and I didn't recognize her. She just looked like she looked different, and she looked like she was really thriving. And when someone comes over for the first time, when they flee, it's a really unsettling, very unsettling situation. So 3 years later, she was sharing all the different things that she was doing. So she had kind of found a way to stay in Moldova. She was teaching kids in Ukraine via the internet. She was continuing to volunteer in Moldova, helping people in that country, and she just seemed to be in just doing really well. And that is the goal. of the work that we do. We help somebody, they're able to through a very difficult moment, they're able to do more, they're able to thrive, and like her, they give back. It's just amazing to see. And I think, when we say what you are the spark, those resources are the spark that makes this all happen. And the resources that we get make a difference and make a real difference in people's lives.
Yeah, and what a great, I mean, Natalia's story is a great example too of how the spark, then the embers from that spark then spark other hope, like that Natalia's gone on to not just
Yeah.
be self-sufficient, but now she's one of those people shining light in the darkness. I can't imagine for both of them the despair of being a mother, being forced to flee, and to that transformation. Like I might sit in that despair, but to have them as examples of folks who had courage and bravery to find that safety, and then we came alongside them and they just ran with it. That's amazing. And I imagine it's doesn't seeds for EE, seeds and chili seeds and some training for EE and a little bit of support for Natalia probably wasn't a huge investment, but to see the ripple effects, that's those are great stories. Thank you. So thinking about that, like one spark that creates, this change that lasts forever. We talk for Giving Day, we say uh, one day but endless impact. And as CWS in general, we talk about sustainable solutions, not just one-time gift, but something that transforms. So and continues to help families long into the future. Can you share an example of how like one act of generosity or can lead to lasting change or one small input? I mean, you said that with Natalia, but do you have any others that you'd like to share of examples of small gifts that
Yeah,
create lasting, sustainable change?
yeah, so I'm really fortunate to have worked for CWS earlier in my career. So my story for people who don't know it, I worked for Churchill Service very early in my career. I was overseas. I spent about a decade in Asia in different countries, and then I came to the US and worked for it there, and then left for a period of time and was able to just really be blessed by able to come back and take on this responsibility and role, kind of my boomerang. And so, one of the fortunate things for me was being able to see that work firsthand on the ground for a good part of my career. And so for me, I think back of and this. And I think back of where I lived and when I went to visit villages, we did when we do hunger and poverty, there's a lot of elements to hunger and poverty, especially overseas. So oftentimes clean water is an element. If you don't have clean water, you're going to get sick. You're going to get your health is not going to be good, and you're not going to be able to work. And so the water programs that we've done over time have been really, some of the water systems that we built in northern Vietnam, some of the work that we did. In fact, actually in the island of Sulawesi back during there's a period of long drought, and we were able to work with villagers to rebuild the irrigation canals for their paddy. And so really just I remember bringing at that time the executive director of Churchill Service to visit to South Sulawesi. His name was the Reverend Dr. Rodney Page, and I took Rodney there. I was the country director of Indonesia at that time, and the whole village came out to meet Rodney because they were so grateful for the work that we had supported. We gave them kind of an income supplement, and then they were able to rehabilitate different things in their community, including the irrigation ditches to their paddy. It was just really amazing, and those repairs last a decade, and so we may and then how many lives you affect if in that one little village, and it affects the lives of the kids, and as the kids grow up, and so our ability to kind of have that spark and to have that be a long-term approach to these things is really clear to me, and I've seen it firsthand, and I've seen it in so many places around the world.
Yeah, I think one of the things I really love about the stories you shared and the ones that I read about CWS and the things that I see is that even if it's a one person that we're supporting, like with Natalia or EE, those folks then help others that then the community helps. And then also there were times when we're coming alongside an entire community, and so it's just an exponential impact of that gift. So thank you. Yeah, the
Yeah.
really one day, one goal, but endless impact is a good tagline for our Giving Day. So, the headlines can feel overwhelming and the need can be great. And some people might feel like, how can I truly make a difference? How would you reassure supporters of Church World Service that they are making a difference, whether they're volunteering or
Yeah.
donating or being a part of CWS?
Well, again, I would just say the best way for me to describe that is I've seen it. Like I've seen it. Like just yesterday when I was in Albany, um, we support at least a dozen, if not more, I think up to 20 food banks and pantries, local pantries in the Albany area through the Crop Hunger Walk fund money. And I talked to the director of a couple of those pantries at the walk, and they were just very grateful for what we did and talked about how our support was really helpful to them being able to feed people in Albany, New York. So the so it's for me it's very clear that the impact is just there, and we're helping again people in the US as well as people overseas. And just to say, in Giving Day also, we haven't talked about the emergency. I've talked a little bit about the hunger piece because of the crop hunger walks, but we do domestic disaster response, and we've been responding to disaster in the United States for decades. And the support, we do it through the kits, through the emergency buckets, um, uh, and many blankets. Our blanket program is really just super important. That we do preparedness kits now, which are just really amazing. We found that people are really responding to those preparedness kits and using them and utilizing them. I just heard a number. I just earlier today that like these were just people were just really utilizing these, and so I'm like, that's great. We have to do more of it. So our ability to respond to domestic disasters is really critical. So hunger is for me one of the pieces that we work on here. The domestic disaster piece is really important. Of course, we are a resettlement agency, a refugee resettlement agency, and so working with families who have come here to rebuild their lives. I think that's another. I think talking about the stories of refugees, when refugees come here, they really only have support for about 3 months. And then we hope, of course, hopefully Church World Service is able to embed them in communities and with churches that help them for longer. We work with them over longer periods in different areas. But really, most refugees who come here get jobs within basically 30 days. Sorry, about 3 months, 90 days of coming here. And so they already begin to contribute to our country and to our economy. And it's really, it's amazing to see the impact that people have for just a little bit of support, that they actually change our lives. They make our lives richer and more whole. And so earlier you talk about courage. I think it's incredibly courage. I feel Church World Service in some ways is an oasis of hope, that we are a place where people can show kindness and generosity, and they can help their neighbor. And just really, I think that's really important. And it's not just about us, it's about how we view the world. It's about our faith, and driven for many by faith, but also many are just driven by they want to make a difference and do to help others. So we're welcome to everyone participating in this. We want those who are driven by their faith to continue to support us. We want new people to support us who've maybe just learned about us and say, wow, what they're doing is really actually really important, and it aligns with my values. I think that's really important, that the values that we've had over 80 years is really important.
Yeah, I love that image of an oasis of hope because I think that's, I mean, when I'm feeling a little overwhelmed, like how can I go on? It only takes going to one crop hunger walk and being surrounded by 200 people who share my values and care, and I realize I don't have to do it alone. Yeah, one person probably can't do it alone, but we're not alone. And when you talk about putting together kits, I mean, that's groups, that's communities coming together to put together kits. I can't, my one bucket's not going to help in a disaster, but my one bucket with everybody else's. The same with welcoming refugee. I mean, it takes a community to help them get settled and get their apartment and find jobs. And that, yeah, one person maybe not, but at CWS, you don't have to do it alone. You're with other good people who want to be part of this hope. So thank you. Those are great examples. And how we can be that spark. So thank you for the great stories, and I hope that those who've been listening can see themselves either maybe if they've already been giving or volunteering. I mean, think about our advocates. You know, one phone
Mm.
call to your legislator may not be enough if it's just you, but luckily through our advocacy team, thousands of people are calling, and our people in power take notice when we call and say we want compassionate and humanitarian policies. So yeah, so thank you, Rick. Thanks for helping us see that being a part of CWS is a part of sparking that hope that really does change everything. I hope that those of you who've been listening today feel encouraged and inspired. I hope that your generosity is a spark for us as we cut through the chaos. I hope you'll consider giving today. Here, we've got a QR code, and then also hopefully there we can put a link in the comments. If you donate today, every gift is going to be matched up to. We have a donor who's donated said he will match $40,000 up to $40,000 dollar for dollar. So your generosity can be a double spark to create lasting change. Um, whether it's clean water or seeds and training like for EE, or it's a warm embrace and a welcome with clothes like we gave like with Natalia, or cleanup bucket or a safe place to call home for a new neighbor. Your gifts are transforming and really shining a light in dark spaces and creating an oasis of hope for both our program participants, but also all of us who get to be a part of walking alongside them. We aren't about just one day solutions. It's about an investment in the future and an investment in the next 80 years. And so if you give today, your investment can be doubled. So please make sure you give. You can give at this QR code, or if you go to our website, cwsglobal.org. On the top of the homepage is a place to join our Giving Day gifts. So I hope that you will light the way today and fuel the next 80 years of impact for church service and for the world. So I was going to check and see how much we've raised already before we started our call today. Let's see where we are. We were about 17, I think. Let's see where we are now, how much we've raised. Um, we are at almost 26,000. So we're $25,965. So almost 26,000 on our way. We definitely want to hit that 80,000. We'd love to get to 100,000. So if you can today make a gift and help us get there, we happy to take your credit cards, and also you can give through your donor advised fund, or you can initiate a stock transfer. So there's information about that on our website. So Rick, thank you so much for your time today. You didn't tell folks, but you are actually not in your office. Were in Albany yesterday, and you're moving your son home from college, and I really appreciate you taking time out of a very busy travel schedule to be with us. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you, Mary Catherine, and it's my pleasure and my honor to do this work, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to just share a little bit about my story and some of the people in lives we've touched.
That's great. Well, if you're watching now, thanks. Go log off and go donate. If you're watching later on the recording, there's still time. You can always donate and be a spark. And I'll just end with happy 80th birthday to all of you who are CWS. Go have some cake and have a great day. Take care.